Imagine walking through the quiet streets of Nuremberg, Germany, on a spring day in 1828. The year is still young, the air crisp. Suddenly, you see him. A boy, stumbling, disoriented, clutching a letter. He looks about 16, but moves like a toddler just learning to stand. His eyes, wide with a mixture of terror and confusion, seem unaccustomed to the daylight. He can barely speak, repeating only a few strange phrases over and over. This isn't a scene from a Gothic novel. This was the baffling reality that greeted the citizens of Nuremberg on May 26, 1828. This was the first time the world met the boy who would become known as Kaspar Hauser, one of history's most profound and enduring mysteries. Who was he? Where did he come from? And what dark secrets did his sudden appearance unleash? The townsfolk were perplexed. The boy was taken to the local police station, where his strange behavior only deepened the enigma. He couldn't walk properly, his legs seemingly unused to supporting his own weight. He showed no recognition of everyday objects. Food, other than bread and water, made him violently ill. The only things he carried were 2 letters. One was addressed to a captain of the 6th Cavalry Regiment. It was supposedly written by a poor laborer who claimed to have raised the boy in secret since 1812, stating he had never been allowed to take a single step out of the house. The letter asked the captain to either take the boy in or hang him. A second, smaller letter was supposedly written by the boy's mother to this laborer, claiming the child's name was Kaspar and that his father, a cavalryman, was dead. The story was bizarre, but the boy's condition seemed to support it. He was initially imprisoned as a vagrant, but his gentle nature and childlike ignorance quickly won the sympathy of his jailer. He spent his days in his cell, playing with toy horses, his only source of joy. It was here that people began to notice his incredible capacity for learning. A local schoolmaster, Georg Friedrich Daumer, took a special interest in Kaspar. He was a patient and kind man, and he took Kaspar into his own home, determined to educate him. Under Daumer's care, Kaspar began to blossom. He learned to speak, to write, to draw. His senses, which had been dormant for so long, were hypersensitive. The scent of a flower could overwhelm him. The sound of a distant church bell could cause him pain. As Kaspar learned to communicate, fragments of his past began to emerge. He described a life of almost total sensory deprivation. He remembered waking up each day in a small, dark cell, perhaps no bigger than a closet. He slept on a straw bed. His only companions were 2 wooden toy horses. Each morning, he would find bread and a pitcher of water by his side, placed there while he slept. He never saw his captor's face. He called this unseen figure the man. He had no concept of the sun, the moon, or the changing of the seasons. His world was darkness, silence, and solitude. Then, one day, the man appeared. He taught Kaspar to write his own name, Kaspar Hauser, and to walk. The process was painful and difficult. Shortly after, he was dressed in strange clothes and led out into the blinding, terrifying world for the first time, eventually being abandoned on the streets of Nuremberg. Kaspar's story spread like wildfire across Europe. He became a celebrity, a living curiosity. Was he a feral child, raised in isolation, or was there something more to his story? The theory that captured the public imagination was that of royal lineage. Many came to believe that Kaspar was the true hereditary prince of Baden, switched at birth with a dying infant in 1812 to allow a child from a morganatic marriage to inherit the throne. This would make Kaspar the rightful ruler, a prince stolen from his destiny and hidden away. This theory, championed by a legal scholar named Anselm von Feuerbach, explained why someone would go to such lengths to keep him hidden and ignorant of the world. He wasn't just an abandoned child. He was a political threat. The Grand Duchess of Baden, Stephanie de Beauharnais, was said to have been told her son had died shortly after birth. But what if he hadn't? What if he was now living in Nuremberg? Just as Kaspar was adjusting to his new life, the shadows he thought he had escaped returned to find him. On October 17, 1829, a shocking event occurred. Kaspar was found in the cellar of Daumer's house, bleeding from a wound on his forehead. He claimed that a masked man, the same man from his past, had attacked him with a cleaver, whispering, "You still have to die ere you leave the city of Nuremberg." The attack was not fatal, but it was a terrifying message. The public was outraged. If he was the Prince of Baden, then his enemies were clearly trying to silence him forever. Security was tightened around him, and he was moved to the care of another guardian. Life continued, but the fear never truly left. Kaspar's fame grew, but so did the number of his skeptics. Some began to question his story. Was he really as innocent as he appeared? Or was he a clever fraud, an imposter who had fabricated his entire past for fame and fortune? His hypersensitivity, his rapid learning. Some saw these not as signs of a deprived past, but as evidence of a grand performance. The boy who had once captivated Europe was now a figure of intense debate. Was he a prince or a liar? The pressure on him was immense. He was moved several times, living with different patrons who all had their own ideas about who and what he should be. His final guardian was a stern British nobleman, Lord Stanhope, who was initially fascinated by Kaspar but grew to doubt his story, eventually accusing him of being a liar. Then, on a cold winter afternoon, the final tragic chapter of Kaspar Hauser's life was written. It was December 14th, 1833. Kaspar returned home to his guardian in the town of Ansbach, clutching his side. He had been stabbed. He managed to lead his guardian back to the court garden where the attack happened. He claimed a stranger had lured him there with the promise of information about his origins. Instead of answers, the man handed him a small purse and stabbed him in the chest before fleeing. Kaspar stumbled home, mortally wounded. Inside the purse found at the scene was a strange mirrored note written in a cryptic style. It didn't offer clues, only more questions. 3 days later, on December 17, 1833, Kaspar Hauser died from his wound. He was just 21 years old. His last words were a jumble of prayers and whispers about the writing. Writing, "Wanaichennihuzan, Walauwanais." And where's the man? The murder reignited the mystery. Who had killed him and why? Was it the same person who had kept him captive for years? An assassin sent by the House of Baden to permanently silence the threat to their throne? Or was the entire thing a desperate final act? Skeptics, including Lord Stanhope, put forward a shocking theory that Kaspar had stabbed himself. They argued that his popularity was waning and that he staged the attack to regain public sympathy, but accidentally inflicted a fatal wound. A monument now stands at the spot where he was stabbed in Ansbach. Its inscription reads, "Here a mysterious one was killed in a mysterious way." The debate has raged for nearly 200 years. Was Kaspar Hauser a victim or a villain? A lost prince or a masterful con artist? Modern science has tried to provide an answer. In 1996, a DNA test was conducted on a bloodstain from the trousers Kaspar was allegedly wearing on the day of his murder. The results were compared with the DNA of 2 living female descendants of the Baden family. The conclusion? The DNA did not match. It seemed the prince theory was debunked. Case closed. But the mystery is never that simple. In 2002, a different team of scientists used new techniques to test sweat from Kaspar's hatband and hair samples. This time, the DNA sequence they found was a near-perfect match to the Baden family lineage. The results were contradictory, throwing the case back into the realm of speculation. So what are we left with? A collection of conflicting evidence, passionate theories, and a story that feels more like a fairy tale than history. If he was an imposter, he was one of the most dedicated and brilliant in history, maintaining his charade until his dying breath. He fooled doctors, lawyers, and noblemen. But if he was telling the truth, then his life represents one of the cruelest injustices imaginable. A boy robbed of his childhood, his identity, and ultimately his life by powerful unseen forces. His story forces us to question the very nature of identity. Are we defined by our birth or by our experiences? Kaspar had no past, no family, no memory of a world outside a dark room. He was a blank slate upon which the world tried to write its own story. The tragedy of Kaspar Hauser is not just that he was murdered, but that he was never truly allowed to discover who he was for himself. His identity remains a ghost, haunting the pages of history, forever a mystery. Thank you so much for watching. The story of Kaspar Hauser is one of those deep dives into history that just leaves you with more questions than answers. What do you believe? Was he a prince or a fraud? Let me know your theories down in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring the great unsolved mysteries of the past, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. We'll see you in the next one.